is Khoramyar. I'm from Aivivid, and wanted to talk a little bit about exploring new opportunities for selling services overseas. I have to just mention maybe the first couple of slides. It's not actually designed for this audience, so I just try to skip them as fast as I can. But let's get this going. So in the older days, Stockholm and Sweden actually was and is an industrial country. We made a product, we put it in the shipping container, we put it through the customs and stuff. We would export our products and services. As time goes by, many of these countries are actually changed from industrial manufacturing countries and economies to more service-oriented, service-exporting countries and economies, namely UK and Netherlands, and even though some old-school economies which are mainly manufacturing, like Germany and Sweden. But more and more, we have in the top 500 companies in the world, we have more service-oriented companies than fewer manufacturing as we go forward. Well, it's just the analogy that Amazon is the largest retail in the world. They own no stores. Airbnb is the largest hospitality company in the world. They don't own any hotels. And the cryptocurrency is going to change the world in the financial services as we go forward. The new industry, well, these little devices popped in our hands since 10 years ago, and it completely changed our world. We book our hotels, we track our flights, we do our online banking, we communicate with our friends and family, we do social networking. It completely transformed the new way of communication, transformed our world in the past 15 years or so. And all of these devices actually talk to backend, which is our business. And that's why this business is growing and growing by the day, which is an excellent opportunity for all of us. But now, let's get to the point of why we should consider actually exporting cloud services to other countries. Well, let's take a look at the local markets. Our local markets are Sweden, which is just under 10 million people. We have a total Nordic population of all 4 or 5 countries, just up north of 26 million people. That's less than 1/3 of Germany, and that's a little more than New York State. So it's not a lot of people. It's not a lot of market to go with. And we also have excellent infrastructure, cold climate with new technologies of cooling and stuff. It's actually going to help with running costs, with stable economies, vast space to build as much as we want. So let's take a look at the largest exporters in the EU. These are the world hosting market shares. As you can see, I'm sure that Germany does not have more than 7% of the world internet users, so they're exporting a lot of these services abroad. UK the same, and Sweden is just 0.7%. And I'm sure you agree that we cannot compare, obviously, the Swedish economy with Germany or UK in terms of size and firepower. What we definitely can, in terms of in a relative concept, we can probably compare Sweden with Netherlands. And even those numbers are not even close, and they are having companies like laaS, which actually have a very international footprint. They sell their services abroad, and the business is growing. So these are the forecasts, all sort of positive forecasts on how the business will grow and is growing. From 2015 to 2016 onwards. And the interesting part is that actually a lot of these forecasts are predicting that the business on the small and medium-sized businesses and is actually a good part of this growth going forward. And we can actually see that on these kind of examples. Large enterprises are using established names. They go after Amazon with AWS, they go with Microsoft Azure, or they do their own co-location because they can hire the people to do this kind of stuff for themselves. The SMBs, by the other hand, they have to go for the smaller solutions. They have to go for the more affordable solutions, and they cannot obviously do co-location and stuff because it's just too much hassle and too much work and too much money. So they go for the virtual platforms like DigitalOcean and Walter. And this is the growth, very rapid growth of a company called DigitalOcean. As you can see, I mean, this is the Netcraft numbers. I don't know what the exact methodology was, but I think it's web-facing servers, and you can see they say that this is now the second largest hosting company in the world, which is not bad for a startup. In Sweden, we also have the same, cloud provider services, like laaS, for instance, which actually do a good job. But price performance competitiveness with Walter and other competition is actually not good. You can buy the services with half the price, roughly, from the other competition in Germany or in Netherlands. This is data from Dyn, which actually says that where the content is globally posted. 44% in North America, Europe gets a good chunk of it, and if you pay attention, I think it's 2% just in the Middle East, which is pretty interesting. These growing markets, because they have a lot of room for growth. They have a lot of user. It's really growing by double, triple digits every year. We have good opportunities to go into these markets from here in the Nordics. There are some obvious markets, and there are not so obvious markets. For this analysis, I chose the kind of the least likely scenario for a Swedish company to go to, and that was the Middle East. This region has just 27% domestic hosting. The rest of the data is coming from elsewhere. So let's see where the data is actually coming from. If you look at this is the domestic hosting in all these countries. UAE and Qatar, being the regional business hubs of the region, have just 9% of domestic hosting. The rest of the data is being served from outside. There are other countries which are in a better position, but we'll get to that. This is the details on the UAE. 64% of the data is being served from North America. 64. I'm sure that anywhere, in Europe, if they put their data, they would have a much better access and much faster access to their data. This is the Qatar, I believe, 43% in North America, 22% in Western Europe. Same goes for Saudi Arabia. Turkey is a better position, 54%. Domestic hosting, 29% still in North America, 14% in Western Europe. And Iran is in the best position in the region, it's 65% of domestic hosting. Now, people would say that, okay, if you want to serve countries in the Persian Gulf, why should you come to a Swedish solution provider? The best location would be south of France or Italy. And that's sort of right, but end-to-end cables from, if you look at the cables and if you look at the latencies and the quality, actually, from the Persian Gulf to the south of France, end-to-end is around 120 milliseconds latency, and it is already bad for lower latency services like game servers and those kind of stuff. So it's already, and it doesn't make any difference under 30 milliseconds if you come upwards, if you go through the classic route of the submariner cables, to Sweden. So I don't think there is a huge difference between 120 milliseconds and 150 milliseconds for standard services. But we can think out of the box. For instance, for this particular reason, for this particular region, we have other options which we actually used. There are several options through LAN cables. One naming EPEG is called Euro-Persia Express Gateway. It goes from Frankfurt to Russia. It goes south to Azerbaijan and then Iran, and it lands in Muscat in Oman, which is actually the location of many other submarine cables which actually land, which come from Europe and goes around the Arabic Peninsula and land in Oman and then serve with the rings in the Persian Gulf. So it's a pretty good location for terminating a cable over there. And as you can see, this is the website of the project, and this has been up and running since 2013. It's operating, connecting interaction in Frankfurt to Oman Telecom. And this actually is the technical specification of the cable, which is not bad. It's end-to-end from Frankfurt to Muscat is just 90 milliseconds round trip time, which is fantastic for such a distance, actually. In good days, we have from Stockholm to Tehran, for instance, we have 75 milliseconds, which is pretty good for considering the distance. So to summarize, I personally think that Sweden in particular, Nordic in general, Nordic countries in general, actually are in a position to compete in the international market. We have to just a little bit think out of the box and go a little bit further to explore new markets. And there's a huge opportunity out there that we can take. And I think that the largest potential new markets would be CIS and Middle East.